Hi, I am Scooter Hendon from TexasBrews.org, and welcome to another episode of Texas Brew School. Here with my good buddy, Brenden Stubblefield of Texas Brewing Incorporated, a homebrew shop here in Fort Worth. Give us a little short bit on that.
I'm a fully stocked homebrew store at 121 in Haltom Road in Haltom City, just down the street from downtown Fort Worth. Quick jump in. Come see me and I'll teach you all about how to brew beer.
Awesome. Well, as you can see here from the greenery in front of us, we're here to talk about hops today. Hops being one of the four main components in beer, along with malt, yeast, and water. And hops are a plant that grows on a vine. They're an acidic plant. Obviously, you get a lot of, I guess, the aroma comes from some of the acidity. Yeah. And a lot of people think of hops as just imparting aroma and flavor, but they actually do some other things too as well.
Right. The hopper is actually a really interesting plant. It definitely imparts the bitterness that you have in your flavor, in the flavor of beer. It's also antimicrobial. It actually preserves your beer. So that's a pretty neat deal. It also has a really close cousin.
Yeah? Oh yeah, what would that cousin be? Would it also be an aromatic plant that maybe isn't legal?
Yes, the closest cousin is probably marijuana. So.
Right. Yeah, we were talking about this on your way over here. You had a bag of these over here. As you can see, these whole cone hops. If you're familiar with the look of what that particular plant looks like, if you got pulled over, maybe we wouldn't be here shooting this episode.
Maybe not.
Fortunately, you didn't, and we're here, and we've got these wonderful hops, and it smells beautiful in here now. Very aromatic. But
yeah, one of the other neat things about it too is it actually it does have an effect on you. It actually has a relaxing, calming feel. It's actually featured in a lot of natural sleep aids. So
grab a pale ale and take a nap.
Right.
Hops. They're not necessarily just you just dump them in there. You're not just boiling them up. A lot of times if you're adding malt, you're just you're sort of boiling it the whole time. Right. With hops, you're adding them at different times. So explain that a little bit.
Yeah. Basically, hops impart three different flavors. You have a flavor. And it also imparts an aroma as well as bitterness. And when you typically have an hour to 2 hour boil on a beer when you're doing your final boil, and when you're doing that, as you add the hops to the beer, it imparts flavor to it. So basically, when you do your first addition, that's your bittering hop, and then later on you have a flavoring hop, and then your last, it really imparts, all it does is gives it a smell or aroma. So I'm sure you've heard a particular brewery around here that has a so-called triple hops brewed.
What exactly does that mean? That is a unique selling point for them, right?
Right. Well, it's not really unique because most beers have triple hops.
So it's just marketing.
Right. Marketing ploy.
Well, this beer in particular we have here that we just poured up is the look. I get a little bit of hops on the bottom there. Is the Rio Blanco Pale Ale, recent gold medal winner at Great American Beer Festival. What do they call it? I think it's an English style pale ale is what they call it, but it's actually made with, and we can sort of touch on that, is brewed with Czech Saaz hops,
right?
Which is a noble hop. Now hops are typically come from sort of three different basic regions, right?
Right, exactly. You have two different. You have three different regions that hops really come from. You have Americas, which come from the Northwest, and they are very citrusy, very aromatic hop, piney, lots of different flavors that you get. Very strong compared to some of your other hops.
So English hops tend to be a little bit more earthy, a little bit more mild. They're not nearly as punched up as American hops.
And exactly, a lot of people call them dirty hops. So
right. Well, yeah. Well, they like to make fun of us a little bit with our hops. Right. So Americans love big, strong hops. So we like things bold here. We're America, damn it. Right.
And you also have the noble hops that are mainly your German hops. A little less reserved, a little more spicy, a little more peppery.
Right.
But
not nearly as pungent quite as much.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Okay. Cool. So what we have here is a difference. We've got pellet hops and whole cone hops, which, you know, these actually, they're not like fresh straight off the vine. You know, like sometimes you've seen this, you know, pretty picture, and it's just picturesque type hops.
It's like a little pine cone.
Yeah, you can kind of see that here though with these is that they've got the leaves, so they actually, you know, kind of resemble what you're looking at there. But most breweries aren't using these. Most breweries are using pellet hops, and if you're doing home brewing, you're probably going to be using pellet hops as well, right?
A lot of people like to use they think that it imparts quite a bit more aroma when they use a whole hop. I particularly can't tell any difference. It's kind of a Ford Chevy kind of thing, whatever you prefer. One of the reason most of your commercial breweries do not use a whole hop is because when it gets wet, it really soaks up a lot of beer, so the yield isn't quite as good.
Gotcha.
Also, the other thing is too, when you whole cone hops versus pellet hops have a lot longer shelf life than what your cone hops do.
Right. So you see those as essentially what they do is they're taking this, shredding it up, compacting it, or drying it, and then compacting it into this. Is that kind of how it works?
Right, exactly. And then on your whole hops, they actually take them and they dry them out a little bit. So.
Okay. Another beer that we have here is our St. Arnold Alyssa IPA. Now, you know, this one's a pale ale. This one's an IPA, which is an India pale ale. Why don't you tell us a little bit about sort of, I guess, the history of IPA?
IPA is a really neat beer. It has a history behind it. And as we talked about earlier, it is a preservative in beer. And one of the cool things is when India was a colony, the guys wanted their beer from England. So what they had to do is they actually added a ton of hops, and they ordered to make the trip from England all the way to India. So in therein lies, that's where the style was born.
Sure.
And if you like hops, this beer definitely features hops.
Yep.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's very bitter, very strong, and really tasty.
Yeah. Now, you know, another thing that's interesting about this beer is it's what they call a single hop beer. St. Arnold calls it single hop, and really anyone does, is it features only Cascade hops. Right. So, you know, maybe the complexity of some beers that have multiple hop types in it, this one just has one, so it features that one specific type.
Right, and that's one way you can really, when you get a single hop beer, that way you can really pinpoint what that particular hop flavor is, because, man, the same thing with malts. There's hundreds and hundreds of different hops, and they all have different flavors.
Sure.
So,
yeah,
that's one of the neat things about beer is you have so many different components that can go into beer: yeast, your water, your hops, your grain, and there's multiple millions of different combinations.
Yeah. This was interesting about Alyssa's is actually it's about a tall ship that's actually still I believe it's still stationed in Galveston.
So.
But you know, this beer pays homage to the original way that beer got over to India and being an IPA. So, anyways, so that's it for hops. Wonderful thing. I'm a big fan of hops. I love IPAs. Always a big fan of that. You know, another style being double IPA, which is obviously just more hops.
More hops and more alcohol.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe we'll talk about those in another episode. But future episodes, we'll be talking about yeast and adjuncts, which typically can be have a bad connotation with some of the larger breweries, but actually can be some good stuff as far as rye and wheat and some of these cooler
Most
things.
Definitely.
So, anyways, until next time, Scooter Hendon, scooter@texasbrews.org. You want to email me?
Brenden Stubblefield with Texas Brewing Inc.
Cheers.
Okay, what episode is this?
This is hops. Straight up hops.